All right, welcome back to the stream. I am going to start a new sculpture here. Just working on my audio. Okay, so what I have here, we're going to do a portrait, a small portrait, and I just have a rudimentary, uh, you know, flange and pipe, and that's just going to hold my sculpture up. But we're going to do this in oil clay as well. And I do have now my little Lazy Susan, which helps. This is typically, so if you are sculpting in a table, this is probably the best way to go about it. It's easy. So you just put it on here, boom, and it's set up. You don't need any large sort of contraptions. So this pipe is about 5 or 6 inches. And you do this too if you're sculpting in water clay and you're doing a portrait. This is how you would start, but of course, bigger if you're doing life size. But since I'm doing a small sculpture, I think I'm going to make it this big or so. And I'm hoping you guys can see this well. So I'm going to have this. I'm going to set it down. I'm going to have some wires already set up. This is old wires. So I'm going to build the head on here. And then we can give it some sort of movement. So I'm going to put it here. I'm going to create some of my oil clay. I'm going to shove it right in here just to kind of hold it. And you don't really need that much support with oil clay. This is good enough. Right? It definitely will hold it. And then you can move this around. Now, with water-based clay, if you are sculpting a portrait, this is going to be smaller, you would do that, blow it up, but you would also, in addition, you would take some wire and you would wrap it around this, and that would be what would support. Because in water clay, the clay is much heavier, it's got water, so it sinks in, you need more support. But because we're doing it in oil clay, I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of clay into the edge here, and we're pretty much set. I also have some additional wiring that you can use it to wrap around this. It's not needed at all for this sort of clay, but it does kind of help because the clay's got something to grab a hold of. I'll just do this. It looks cool. It looks like I planned it out. So this is typically what I do when I'm like sculpting. Not a lot of plans. I don't have a lot of plans on. I know I want to do a portrait, and that's it. I have some reference up. And I did curve this up here just so I don't have like one single pipe. And the next thing I recommend, because if you're going to build a sculpture, you're going to put a lot of clay onto here. So you kind of, if I'm doing oil clay, I'm going to put like paper, I'm going to put plastic, just to get it bulked up. One of the cheapest ingredients is really this aluminum foil. One of the film, and you do this also for water clay. With water clay, you use newspaper, and the reason you use newspaper is because if you leave any newspaper in there and fire it, the newspaper just burns off. But you can't use aluminum foil or water clay. So I'm putting mass in just a little bit now. I like to use it aluminum foil. You don't have to. You could also use it with polymer clay as well. I just don't want to work too hard on getting clay on and bulking up. So my idea is that the shoulders are going to be right here. So right there, sternum. I like to make a little triangle going up, and then the neck. And you can see I can kind of push this up. So if I want the neck to be a little bit higher up, I can do that. I also don't want to push this in too much. It kind of defeats the purpose of the like another one. Wrap a little bit around your neck. because our necks slant forward. I turn it this way. You see already I have that slant. And, at this point, you might want to think about some sort of position and expression. Like, typically, this is called the throne. You start the sculpture portrait head on, just looking at it. And then you take the evidence and do everything, and then you just look at that. This one's here. So much neck. So that's the evidence. Yeah. So rudimentary start. Yeah, and just make some adjustments here. You guys can see. Hopefully, you have enough light. If you don't have enough light, post up in the comments. I don't know if I see the comments. I'm not looking at this, Let me zoom a little bit. All right, we are ready to start doing this. Got my lazy Susan, some coffee, oil, some old clay. Look at this. Ooh. And the worst thing about like clay, my studio is cold. This is cold. It takes me a while to kind of heat it all up. So let me show you what it looks like. My studio. You see that? That's my oil heater. I'm gonna have some clay and a piece of tile. And hopefully when I want to work with it, I can put the clay here. I can cut it into like little bits. Just like that. And you see there's aluminum inside. You want that because it's one of the best things. It keeps the clay nice and warm. But right now I'm just starting, so I'm basically starting from scratch here. Just it's good. Sorry. And I'm gonna get some more clay. So I've been heating this one up, and hopefully today is like a incredibly cold day. I think it's like 18 degrees. It's funny, like some of the people on the stream, people have come from South Africa. That actually seems way nicer. But look at it. I always start here. And the reason is I don't want the clay to push this down. So I want my head to be the aluminum foil on it. So our heads are pretty big. Deep lines. And usually I'll expand, but I have plenty of clay. That's what one of the tubs that I have with all sorts of clays. Is it too dark? Kind of feels like it might be too dark. I mean, so we're going to start putting the clay. And the cool thing about oil-based clay, you don't have to be perfect about adding it. You can leave bubbles, so gaps in there. But when you work with water clay, you can be a lot faster. I mean, I will cut like a whole slice of water clay, slap it on here, and that'll be a start. But the problem with this is like, little tiny bits. Little tiny little clay stuff. I should have done this before the stream, but slow moving. So that's like one of the downsides of oil-based clay. Getting it to work, so you want it to be this consistency. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna pop this in the stove. or in the microwave. I'll be right back. I'm actually going to take this and all my other clay. You know what? I can't take this. I have to kind of take this one. And the reason is I want to put it in the microwave. And you see this one? I used aluminum foil. So that's another really bad thing about oil clay. I'm going to put it all in the microwave and get this nice and warm, but you have to be careful. So on this one, yeah, no aluminum foil. This one, no, hopefully, no aluminum foil. I'll be right back. I'm going to put this into the microwave for 2 minutes. Usually one. And by the way, you want to make sure that you use thicker plastic. This is actually what monster clay comes in, and you just melt it. You'll see it makes a big difference. I'll be right back. Hopefully it's not getting exact with aluminum foil. I should put on pause while I do this, but it's the back. That makes a big, big difference. And I can't really stand it. I can't stand the slowness in the beginning. But it'll be nice and warm. So for these sculptures, you're going to need a different set of tools. And one of the things I do is I keep tools just for oil clay, or at least I'll try to, because the oil clay doesn't really like to mix with the water clay. And you use a lot of these wire tools just to do a lot of scraping like this. Let me put this on break right now and intermission. And I'll be right back. Hey, we are back, my lords, and here we go. Zap this in the microwave. It's liquidy, so you have to be careful. You could actually get burned with this. And it's pretty darn hot. So I'm going to side here. And now, because I put it in the microwave, let me show you. Look at the consistency. Big, big difference. So do this. Be careful not to burn yourself. It's actually, look at that. Now it's completely different. Oh, it feels so nice. It being warm. So I just want to wrap this and make kind of like an oval shape to it. Cover the entire pipe with our clay. Look how much easier it is to work with. Good. Oh, so much nicer. I do regret mixing the clays together, but now can't really get back. In a way, it gives you like a nice consistency or an inconsistency. It makes it more organic. Put this way. Big difference. Look at this. Just look at the clay. That's great. That's such a big difference. So that's the neck. So that would be a profile. So try to get this nice and consistent for you guys as far as the stream. No one's watching, but I never thought so much easier. This one, you see, when it gets too wet, it almost becomes a liquid. It does become a liquid, by the way. Not to burn yourself. So if you're new to the channel and you're watching this on repeat or not live, we're doing a portrait. Unsure. It's gonna be like a man. Oh, I should have knocked it on. I'm like getting the clay. You know who's a good sculptor that I never realized was a sculptor? That one guy from Home Alone. He was in the news recently for soliciting a prostitute, and they were saying how he's such a good artist, and he's very talented. Uh, He's like, all of these celebrities when they become artists, they just do like conceptual artwork or abstract, but this guy is realistic. The guy called Home Alone, one of the henchmen, Joe Pesci's assistant. I thought that was pretty cool. So now I'm gonna stop talking. If anybody's got questions, just post up in the comments. Hopefully the music, I did put some music in the background for you guys to listen. I don't listen to it. I gotta check to see if it actually is playing. Let's see. On my live chat, live sculpting. I'm going to see if it works. Oh, yeah, it does work. All right. see how it's moving? I can put it like that. I can remove it. And if this annoys you, you can just put it around the pipe down. What is that noise? Oh, we got a comment. Sorry about that. Let me. Mars T says, I mean, sorry, I have to turn off the volume. I'm just scaring myself. What type of clay are you using? Sorry if you've already said. Yeah, I'm using oil clay, and it's J Mac clay mixed with Chavant clay. I just made a blend. I don't recommend doing that, by the way. So let me just bring this up. Yeah, so I actually heard the comment that I have to turn off the volume. Otherwise, I just listen to myself. So apologies. I'll check the chat once in a while. I'm still setting it up. If you're late to the stream, I'm basically doing a portrait. Unsure what portrait yet. Just practice, I guess. There's the neck. And that's going to be the head. And should I put a little bit here? So it comes to focus a little bit. It's a small portrait. I like doing like these little small studies. And I just put the clay in the microwave because it's very, very cold inside here. So all of that. So my idea is that that's going to be the middle. That means that you need to have more. Here's the bath. This is my clay. You can see it's a blend clays. Don't recommend this. Just stick to one clay. It makes life so much easier. And you know the excuse me, you know the consistency as opposed to making your own clay. I don't know. I'm just always experimenting with clay anyway. So I just want to bulk this up. I kind of have an idea in my head where I want. But, you know, like I said, I want to get better at portraits. And portraits are so difficult. I was thinking about doing a series of portraits of grifters. You know, those people you see online. Yeah. And then just making 3D prints of them. You know, like all the off male guys who are just like, oh, like the Liver King. That'd be funny. I don't know, just a little humor. Maybe one of Tim Pool. Okay, this is getting hard. The studio is cold, so therefore everything's cold. So, you know, one of the things I recommend having up is the air crochet. I'm actually going to get it now. This is nice and warm. Coffee. Yeah, one of the things I'm doing is fasting. So I just drink coffee. And here's my paper show. You're not going to be able to see the entire thing, but it's there. And the reason I have the air crochet up, something. Oh, hey Libby, wheelbase, yeah. Hey, I took your advice and I got a turntable, so you can see. Okay, move it around. I actually had this one before, so I do have a modeling stand. It takes up a lot of space, and when I'm working this small, I just like to work on the table. And plus, I set this up for stream. So when you set something up for stream, I didn't realize I needed so much freaking real estate. Like, so we zoom out so you can see. Yeah. So I have my table here. I got this guy 3D printed, get it online, it's free. And then I just kind of want to look at the skull shape because I have this here. I'm not making a copy of that or anything. but I just want to take some references so it looks human. You can even do like a profile. I want to extend the profile a little bit more. Keep dropping stuff. Actually, one of the videos I'll be doing the upcoming streams is a technique called sight size. I don't know if people are familiar with it, but it's what they teach at the Florence Academy of Art in Italy. And it's a really interesting way. I've never took classes there, but it works well, especially if you're like wanting to get better at proportions, because it really forces you to learn to measure. Put it this way. A lot of people like to work the profile in the beginning, and I'm essentially just adding a skull right now. Yeah, that's a, you're right. It's a good way of doing it, having like a little turntable. I had this before and I was using it for, I think it was 3D scanning, and I've done like painting. It's seen better days, but it's just this little lazy Susan. You can get her on Amazon for like $5. Put any piece of wood on it, and you got yourself a cheap modeling stand. And of course, if you guys haven't seen the Can You Turn Down the Music a Tad? Yeah, I can't listen to background music. Yeah, okay. Is that better? Yeah, I'm always like going back and forth. I'm used to sculpting alone, so the music's usually a little bit louder. So I got my computer here, and I have my reference. I'm actually going to get rid of this TV. It's just waiting for somebody to come and get it. But for these types of sculptures, you're going to need wire tools like this for scraping, and it helps to have your own tools for oil clay and some for water clay. They all work together, but I found that water clay tends to destroy a lot of the tools, especially wire tools. And oil clay, when it's hard, it just it wears out tools as well. So I think that's one of the reasons you want to be able to make your own stuff. Is this better? Is this the wide angle better? Uh, I'm using a different lens now. Do you have a video on your channel for creating a armature for sculpture or just a face? I'm not sure what it's called, maybe. You know, so I did have a little armature for this, and I showed it in the beginning of the video, but it's essentially just a pipe and a flange, and I'll show you. So this, I just have a base. You should have a bigger base, but I have this. And then a flange. In the United States, if you go to the plumbing section, you get these. This is a flange. It costs like $5. You screw it into a base, and then you thread these pipes up, and the pipe ends right about here. And then you take some wires, like this, and you build your armature on it. So depending on the type of sculpture you're making, uh, you basically change that armature. But yeah, I'm gonna do like a more finished video on it because I also struggle with sculpture or building armatures because in watercolor I don't rely too much times on armature. It's like armature free, but I do use the system, and then I pull off the head with clay and scoop the insides out for watercolor. I'm definitely better with watercolor. One of my goals for this year has been better start doing more portraits and using other clay like polymers, just because it's a little bit more interesting. And I did do a lot of wood wood sculpture last year, learning it is problem is with wood sculpture. It just makes your house super dirty. You know, my house is also my studio, so I have to be pretty careful. And with water clay, you also have the danger of like breathing in the little oxide particles. If you're dirty, you know, like there's a lot of people, or you're creating large sculpture works, then yeah. So I'm gonna turn my crochet, and you can see, look, the beauty of like having a rudimentary armature is that you can kind of move it. So if you want to give this an expression, you know, most of the time in sculpture, you sculpt it straight. So this is the middle, that's the eyes. So you sculpt it. It's like in the throne. That's what they call it in school. And then afterwards, you give it an expression. You twist it, tilt it, and because of the armature inside, it really helps you do that. But you want to do it like at a mid stage. Right now, we're just in the baby stage. Libby says, I have my diamond core tools from Waterways. Never had a problem with those. Looking to get some monster clay for holy molds. Yeah, I did try using just regular clay for making molds. It works pretty well. For some reason, the silicone just gets through just about everything. I still have some urethane that I want to make a mold. It's just so time consuming, so messy. So I want to build a skull shape, and we are wider back here. You want to look for that widest point of the skull, usually right about here. Some people are over there. Yeah, I would really love to have a model here with me. Diamond core tools sounds expensive, by the way. Where'd you get those? A really good place for tools is Sculpture House, but they're not cheap. SculptureHouse.com. The ceramic stuff you get is not that good. I don't know if I should be doing streams on a Tuesday. It seems like most people do not watch streams on a Tuesday, but I don't know. It just seems like a quiet day to do it. You know, like with my computer, I like to pull up things to kind of look at the reference. The reference here is quite good. I really recommend you guys to download it. So I made it, you know, public for everybody, free on Thingiverse. You can get it, and it makes a big difference. I kind of screwed up the head though, printing anyway. I used my old Reality printer, and because of the supports for the chin, it got messed up. So I spent so much plastic on it. I mean, look, there's one section, two, and then three. That's big. That's a lot of plastic. That could be $17 worth of plastic. So if you're coming in, I just put this in the microwave and it's kind of melted. And I have on the side here, let me show you. I have an oil heater, so that sculptures, and that kind of keeps the clay firm enough to work on. Okay, let's keep going. I want to get the widest angle here. I want to pull up some reference too. Skulls. I was looking at skulls. Yeah, 3D printers. There's the printer I just got is quite good. It's the Sovo oh 06. I got it last year or 2 years ago, but it's still pretty good. It prints well and it's consistent. If you get a cheap printer, the problem is you're going to be like messing with it all the time. It'll print good one day, and then the next day, nothing, or it'll stop midway. So the Sofos are copies of that other expensive brand. So it's like a Chinese knockoff. But I paid $160 for it. Brand new. The last printer I had was a Creality Ender, and it was good for a while. And then for some reason, I could not get it to print at all. I was spending so much time in trying to debug it. I ended up selling it very cheap, but I bought it for like $50 too. I always try to find deals on Facebook Marketplace. Man, the clay is just so warm. Yeah, I was just saying that the guy from Home Alone, the evil henchman, that was a problem. See, this is when you cheapen out in the beginning. When it starts to get heavy, it gets front heavy, and then boom. But with oil clay, it's like pretty light. With water clay, don't do that. You don't want to put this on such a tiny little platform. You want to put it on something that has potential here. Yeah, the bamboo is really good. And there's a bamboo that prints multiple colors too. A really good quality printer are those resin printers. Those resin printers, they print much better quality. It doesn't have like the little tiny marks on it. But for me, those marks, I basically remove them because I paint over the sculptures, and that kind of removes a little bit of the artificial machine look. So that's the neck. I'm going to build out a little bit here on the torso. I wonder if I just, because I don't have to build it. I want a triangle here. The clay is just really, really soft.